Yesterday was the fifth day in the Diddy trial, and to give you a clear picture, I'll describe exactly how the entire court session went, as if we were there live. And I can already say, things are looking very bad for Diddy. Over the past few days, many potential jurors were dismissed, and the defense accused the prosecution of mostly excluding black jurors. They asked for reasons behind that. In response, the prosecution explained the dismissal of each individual black juror. The judge reviewed the explanation and found no signs of discrimination, which of course didn't sit well with Diddy's defense. They continued to argue that Diddy was being targeted because of his race, and that the prosecution, made up exclusively of white women, intentionally excluded black jurors. Then the trial officially began. It was confirmed that, in addition to numerous witnesses, Cassie and 4 other so-called key witnesses would testify against Diddy. These included his ex, referred to only as Jane Doe, a former employee of Diddy's, and Rodney Jones, his former producer. The 5th witness, whose identity is still unknown, is reportedly a woman who can confirm all of Diddy's actions, even though she herself was not a victim. However, the prosecution revealed that one of the witnesses has been missing for weeks, and not even her lawyer can be reached. That led many to suspect that Diddy bribed her in the background to prevent her from testifying. But for now, those are just rumors. Which witness exactly they were referring to will likely be revealed as the trial goes on. Then came the most important part of the trial. Before any witnesses were questioned, the prosecution delivered its opening statement, which I'll now read to you in full, even though it was long, because this was the first time the official charges against Diddy were made public. The opening statement began, "This is Sean Combs. To the public, he was a cultural icon, a businessman larger than life. But there was another side to him. You will now hear how he committed crimes for 20 years. Let's start with one night, when he was looking for his girlfriend Cassie, and then forced her to have sex with paid men while he watched and filmed it. When he found out that Cassie was seeing another man, he got angry and went looking for her and the man. He woke up an employee to drive him to Cassie's house, but no one was there. The defendant didn't give up and kept searching for her. When he eventually found her, he violently attacked her and treated her like a ragdoll. He threatened to release videos of her, broke into a man's home, assaulted him, and blackmailed his girlfriend. But those weren't his only offenses, and Cassie wasn't his only victim. Through his company, Bad Boy Records, he exercised power, for example, relying on bodyguards who managed every aspect of his life. These bodyguards were involved in criminal activities, including kidnapping and arson, and even transported women across the state lines. He used blackmail and violence, not only against Cassie, but also Jane Doe. He called his escapades freak-offs, Wild King nights, or hotels, and his staff organized flights, cars, and hotels on his command. His team also prepared the rooms with baby oil and lighting, and paid the men in cash after the sessions. He controlled every step and expected the women to enjoy themselves. Cassie tried to focus on her music, but the defendant blocked many opportunities. She did record music, but only Diddy decided what was released. He also hit her multiple times and then forced her to stay in a hotel room to hide the injuries. And now comes the disgusting part. The prosecution said the defendant forced the hired men, violently, to, let's say, pour his bodily fluids into his sex partner's mouth. That's the YouTube-friendly way of putting it. Just unbelievable. They continued, "As you'll see in this trial, he did horrible things, and the consequences are serious. He even hit her when he thought she spent too long in the bathroom, until she fled multiple times. But he always found her again with help from his inner circle. And when he said freak-offs, Cassie knew she had no choice. The same happened to Jane Doe, a single woman Diddy dated in 2020. One night, he told Jane about his freak-offs and immediately acted on it. He brought her to a hotel room while a paid man was en route. But Jane called 2 other men she already knew and invited them to join the freak-off so she could at least choose someone familiar. After a year following an argument, he went to her home, where Jane hid in the bedroom and locked the door. He kicked the door in and destroyed the bathroom, the closet, and the guest room. He said to her, "You're not ruining my night. Call a man and do what I say." Jane ultimately followed his command. You'll see text messages proving the defendant offered a hotel security guard $100,000 in $100 bills to keep quiet and handed over the now famous bed with Cassie to cover up his actions. Cassie and Jane Doe will share the painful experiences of their lives, and you'll also hear from some of the paid men Diddy hired and filmed. Several of his employees will also testify about how he harassed them. You'll see text messages, videos, and lots of other evidence proving Sean Diddy Combs' guilt. After this lengthy statement, Diddy's defense took the floor and presented their perspective. They said, "This case is about love, jealousy, and money. But this isn't a Disney fairy tale. Sean Combs is fascinating. He grew up in Harlem and built legitimate businesses. If you wanted to make it in music, you naturally wanted to be around Combs. He's 55 years old, and I'm honored to represent this man. This case concerns Sean's private life, and the government has no business being involved in it. Sometimes he gets jealous or angry and loses control. You'll hear that he lied to his ex-girlfriend, and you might think he's a jerk or mean, but he's not being charged for that. He's being charged with running a criminal enterprise. But the allegations are only about domestic violence." The prosecution interrupted and said, "If this were about domestic violence, we wouldn't be in court for 8 months. Don't waste our time." As the defense continued, they portrayed Cassie and Jane Doe as hurt ex-girlfriends who were just jealous. They even brought up Kim Porter, claiming Cassie and Jane were jealous of her and were just desperate for money at the end of the relationship. The defense repeatedly emphasized that both women had a choice, and that free choice comes with ups and downs. That was all the defense had to say. They didn't mention any counter-evidence or anything that might exonerate Diddy. On the contrary, their statement indirectly admitted that Diddy was abusive, probably because, given all the video evidence, denial is no longer an option. Then the first two witnesses were questioned. The first witness was Israel Flores. At the time, he was a security guard at the hotel where Diddy was filmed attacking Cassie. He testified that on March 15, 2016, he received an emergency call from the 6th floor of the hotel. There he encountered Diddy and Cassie in the elevator lobby. Diddy was slumped in a chair staring blankly. Israel Flores said, "His stare was, I'd describe it as devilish." He added that Cassie was crouching in a corner, covering her face. Later, he recalled that she had a black eye. He told them to settle their issues in their room and escorted them back. There he noticed another man in the room, and Diddy grabbed a bunch of cash and told the security guard not to tell anyone about what had happened. The guard declined the bribe and told Diddy he'd have to pay for the property damage. Shortly afterward, the guard returned to the room with the reception manager to remind Diddy of the hotel policies. When they arrived, Diddy demanded the hotel surveillance footage, and the situation escalated so badly that the guard had to push Diddy against the wall to calm him down. This altercation was recorded on a phone and played in court for the first time. In the video, you could hear Diddy shouting at Cassie while the guard tried to de-escalate the situation. Then the viral video of Cassie and Diddy in full length. In the footage, Diddy is seen repeatedly hitting Cassie while she lies defenseless on the ground. The room appears visibly trashed, furniture overturned, objects scattered.